as mentioned, just to sort of, I guess, pull the veil back a bit, I'm sure there are many people that are still getting to know you and figuring out who Michelle Pearce is. So just, in a brief snapshot, tell us a bit about who you are, your family, your work background. Who is Michelle Pearce?
Sure. Well, first and foremost, Michelle Pearce is a committed Christian. I actually came to know the Lord when I was a child. I believe when I was 9 years old, I had a real encounter with God where I felt His Holy Spirit, and I knew from without a doubt from that point that I was His child. And that really has been the pathway that I've chosen, and every decision has been based on Jesus as Lord. But I am married, been married for 21 years to John, and we have 3 children, aged 14, 11 and 8. They're wonderful kids, and I love being a mum, and they're my absolute priority. Work background is when I graduated university with a degree in public policy, I straight away started with the Australian Christian Lobby as the WA State Director, and absolutely loved that and the opportunities it provided to influence. And however, with having children and life going in that direction, I backed away for a bit to focus on being mum. When my kids were a little bit older, I had the opportunity to work for a member of parliament, for a Liberal member, Nick Goiran in Western Australia, who's a committed Christian. And so my experience really is from working outside the parliament in terms of lobbying, but also inside with Nick Goiran, who's an incredible strategist when it comes to influencing public policy from within the parliament. And I learned a great deal under him. And also with a mix of church ministry in amongst all of that as well, been involved in a Bible college, in youth pastoring, in running various departments within a church, and for the last 5 years actually been pastoring a church in London. So it's a very varied experience, but I think it's a setup in the sense of God's prepared me with political experience, with ministry experience, from understanding the perspective of a pastor, as well as those working in politics. I think it's really necessary in this role to have an appreciation of politics and of pastoring at the same time, since we're working into both.
Yeah, so important. And I guess the understanding of family too, because obviously, having a young family, I mean, with kids of that age, I mean, that's a very busy time for you as a family as well. So I guess all that, and you can often see that, can't you? You look back over, different aspects of your life, and you can see God's fingerprints in it all, sort of saying, yeah, this is all going to, come together to a new season, which it is for you. But yeah. What's it been like? I mean, just I guess even that getting the balance for family. I mean, that must be a real challenge. Obviously you must be doing school drop-offs and all sort of stuff. Like, how does that all work for you as a mum who has a very busy role with the ACL?
Yeah, my husband and I very much work as a team, and we just make sure we're always, prioritising the kids. So John very graciously is doing the pickups and the drop-offs at the moment, but I do try and do it, at least once or twice a week to make sure I'm there too. But with any position in ministry, it really is a team effort with husband and wife, and that's the way we've been operating since pastoring the church. There's times where I had to be out, times when he had to be out, and we manage the family at the same time. But I think as long as you've got your priorities right in terms of your family, and you're being a good steward, and I understand that I'm accountable to God for the way that we steward my family, but and the way that we steward work as well. So I just make sure that we're doing that in a right, God-honouring way. And my kids are really happy in Canberra because we've just moved here, going to a really great Christian school. So they're very happy with the move.
That's great. And that's a pretty big move. I mean, obviously, moving your family back from the other side of the world. So, I mean, even that in itself would have been a huge decision for you and your husband to decide, whether to even take this role on in the first place.
Yeah, that's right. And it just had to be a God move. We had to make sure that it was His purposes and not a desire of our own hearts, but really His desire for us. And it was a sacrifice in terms of, we were running a church in London. We absolutely loved it. We loved our team. They were like family to us, and we had a real vision for what God was going to do through the church in London. But when this opportunity came up after prayer and seeking counsel, we just really knew it was the right thing to do, and we handed the church on to somebody else who's just going to continue to take it from strength to strength. But we've always lived with the positions that we hold with open hands to say, well, God, you move us on in your time, and we're surrendered to you. And I think with a life like that, God does do that. He positions you, but then he moves you on in His time, and that's what we felt was the right thing to do with moving from London back to Australia.
And you mentioned you went to uni and studied was it public policy? What was the course that you did at uni?
Yeah, it's a Bachelor of Arts in Public Policy and Management. And I actually started studying sociology because I wanted to understand society and how we can influence it, how we can change it. But I wanted to do something tangible and more practical. So that's when I did public policy and started to consider the way that we could have effect on the laws of our nation. And I started to think that if we could affect the laws of our nation, we could affect the direction of it. And this was really moved from me. I think the passion started in high school when I went to quite a rough high school, actually, and I saw my friends make decisions that I knew were going to be harmful for them. I saw a real rejection of the Christian way to live, and I just thought we've got to do something to change the nation. So it just started from this stirring within me of this. There's got to be something that we can do as Christians to influence our nation. And I thought in my heart that perhaps I could do that in politics and in the area of influencing the law, which is why I chose a public policy degree and didn't know then of all the things it would lead me into, but grateful to God for the opportunities it's led me to.
That's so cool.